we're back. Episode 6, we're moving. Now, if you've just watched episode 5, you might notice that we've managed to get the chair and the lighting and everything exactly the same as we did in the last episode, so that's quite skillful. The truth is, I've just changed my shirt to make it look like a different day. So there's the big reveal. It's just a change of shirt, but we are talking about new images today, so here we go. So the first image that really struck me, I think in this episode was roll 54, could have been 53, and it's Suhib. So I'm a sucker for Adidas tops. I think they look cool. They do look cool. And so from the distance I saw Suhib walking with this black Adidas top and tremendous hair, and I thought, wow. So asked if I could photograph, of course, it was no problem, and I made that image. And something I've been trying to do, I find it very difficult. I like very isolated portraits. I like portraits with very minimal backgrounds. I don't like distractions, you may have noticed that. But I wanted just to give this portrait a little bit of context, show a little bit of the street. So that's what I did in this portrait, and I felt that Suhib worked for this particular scene. This is a portrait of Mike. Mike is one of the Tartan Army. So again, the theme of football is in my mind. When I made this photograph, there was a lot of football matches being played. Scotland, the national team, playing Hampden, which is very, very close to Govanhill. In fact, many people go to the pubs in Govanhill that are going to see the game. I know a lot of the pubs, and I was speaking to Annie, who runs the Victoria Bar in the Queen's Park Cafe, and I said, is there any chance I could come along just to see if I could get maybe a Scotland fan, because I wanted to carry on this theme of football. It's no problem. So I went, and with the 100 rolls, I'm shooting medium format, so I'm not really shooting wide. I'm shooting with a short telephoto lens. So it's portraiture rather than wide shots, and there was great scenes in the pub that could have been good, so that's maybe for another project. So I met Mike, and he looked brilliant with his Tartan Army get-up, the kilt and the hat with all the badges and the feathers. And I asked if I could photograph him, and it turns out he came down from Dundee. And this is one of the things that's happening in the project. Not everyone I photograph in this project, 100 rolls, Govanhill, is from Govanhill, because a place is made up of people that pass through it, that come and visit or go to the shops there. So I often meet people that aren't from Govanhill. So Mike was from Dundee, and he was going to the game with his family. Quite strange to have someone approach in a pub and ask if they can take you away. And I did, and I took him down a little alley, just somewhere I knew that was going to work, and photographed Mike. But I sent him the shots, and he was really happy with them, and so was I. So I've got my Tartan Army representation there. I've been talking a little bit about how the project or a place is made up of people, but not just people who live in the area, but people who visit or people that pass through. Now, I met Dita, I was just about to head home, and I met Dita, and it turns out that she'd just moved in that day. Originally from Denmark, if I remember correctly, and is in Glasgow studying at the art school. Someone who'd just been in Govanhill for a day or two is now part of this project, because that's where I met them and that's where I photographed them. Is that a boring story? I think it's a boring story. Off camera says it's interesting. The last portrait that I wanted to talk about for this particular batch is a portrait of Gary. I photographed Gary in 2000, and it might have been 2017 or 2018, and the portrait of Gary ended up winning Portrait of Britain, and it travelled, it was exhibited in different places. It's funny, you start a project, and when people invest in the project, they want you to talk about the project. So I go to different colleges and I talk about the project. I go to schools and talk about the project. So I happened to be that morning in a school, Shawlands Academy, and I was talking about the project, and one of the images I spoke about was Gary, and I hadn't seen Gary for ages. So anyway, after giving the talk at the school, I went to see if I could make some photographs. So I parked the car, got out, got my equipment out, and I started walking up Torresdale Street, and down the street comes a scooter, and the person on the scooter has this helmet on. So I can't see the person, but I can tell that they're staring at me. And so I looked back and I thought, why is this person staring at me? And then I can see Again, it's just the eyes. I can see the eyes, less intense and kind of break into a smile, but just the eyes. And so the scooter stops and the helmet comes off, and it's Gary. And I've not seen Gary for ages, but I happened just to be talking about Gary that very morning. So it was good to see him, and I thought, wait a minute, I need to photograph Gary. And I'd photographed, like I said, I'd photographed Gary before, but it just felt right to make another portrait of Gary. So whether this one's better, I actually don't think it is. I think the original photograph that I took of Gary's the strongest one, because in the original photograph he's wearing this amazing paisley shirt. But he's still got a great character, and it felt great to be able to photograph him again. Having this new project, 100 rolls, it was almost an excuse, a reason, not that I need one, but it was a reason to make another portrait of Gary. So I was so delighted that day that I had been talking about him, and all of a sudden he drops from the sky, or he rides up in a scooter intending to knock me over.